7 days until world-class talent is back at the helm of the United States of America. And by world-class talent, I mean people who have achieved magnificent, world-changing things that have nothing to do with politics. President Trump, Vance, the rest of the team, they knew a life outside of politics, unlike the people with no skill, no clue. Right now, they are failing, and we can all see it, and it's kind of coming at a perfect time. You know what I mean? They're being exposed. I hate that there's a fire, but the silver lining is that, well, Gavin Newsom ain't ever going to be president, okay? And that was kind of a possibility there. Look, watch the guy. I've taken a good hard look at him. He's not the governor. He's a tourist. You can see it every step of the way. This is not a leader. This is a guy looking for a microphone and a photo op. That's all he knows about government. He doesn't know how to govern. By the way, he's always having a great time. Look at this. In this photo right there, take it full. He's actually cracking a smile, and the cops seem to be having a nice moment. And that's fine for the cops. But for him, does he ever get serious? This is what leadership looks like. 9/11, Rudy Giuliani, all right? Everywhere, all the time, in charge, directing, not reacting, being in charge. And very few people can do that. Not Gavin Newsom, not Adam Schiff, not Joe Biden, not the rest of them. And it really is so amazingly apparent. How was anybody ever fooled by Gavin Newsom? Was I for a little while? I never paid that much attention to him, but now I am. Meet the press. You ever hear that old phrase, the buck stops here, right? Who came up with that? Truman or Roy Rogers? The buck stops with me. I'm the one responsible. Well, they asked Gavin that. And Gavin, guess where the buck doesn't stop? It don't stop with Gavin.
I think there's a propensity to wait to answer those questions, and people want immediacy. They want response and responsiveness, and so that's the idea.
Ultimately here, does the buck stop with you?
I mean, you're governor of California. You might as well be the mayor of California. We're all in this together. We're all better off. We're all better off. We're all better off. And we're working together to take care of people and to make sure people are supported. We're empathetic.
We're all better off. We're all better off. We're all on the same team here. Governor of California, mayor of the California, we're all better off. We're empathetic. In other words, I'm not responsible. I would have said that. I mean, why be the governor if you're not really prepared to govern? And why ask for the people's vote when you don't even respect them? Direct questions, you can't give a direct answer. Next, please.
Do you have faith in Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass?
I have absolute faith in our community. I have faith in our leaders. I have the faith of our capacity to work together.
See what I mean, right? Do you have faith in Karen Bass? I have faith in the community, faith in our leaders. You think we can't see this? He's like, in some ways, he's an old-timey politician, like before the internet. How about giving us a straight answer? He can't. About the reservoir situation and the ones that ran out of water. Not my responsibility.
President-elect Trump has blamed you for this crisis. He called you incompetent. What's your response?
Well, I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt and reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta.
What's up with this routine, huh? And then what you're saying is it's like a weird kind of intimidation move, but I don't know. I think he's a little bit psychotic, okay? I think he's a little bit psychotic. You ever hear of the Marshall Plan? It was a post-World War II operation to basically rejuvenate Europe. And it was a massive airlift. I mean, there were like 10,000 planes, 24/7 for like 4 months. When you invoke the Marshall Plan, you're talking about big action. Well, Gavin tried that. Again, a little trick with people he doesn't respect because he doesn't think they know any better.
the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team of looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan? Tell us about this Marshall Plan.
We're just starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires. So we're already talking to city leaders. We're already talking to civic leaders. We're already talking to business leaders and nonprofits. We're talking to labor leaders. We're starting to organize how we can put together a collection of individuals on philanthropy for recovery, how we can organize the region, how we can make sure that we are seeking federal assistance for the Olympics more broadly, but also federal assistance for the recovery efforts, and how we can galvanize the community.
Galvanize the community. We can galvanize the community. This might work well at a cocktail party in Beverly Hills, but the whole country can see it, and we can also see right through it. Hey, by the way, why is he in the middle of nowhere? I mean, there are operation centers, there are nerve centers where you could actually be calling the shots. Instead, he's with this guy. I don't know. Here's another one.
With folks that love this community, to really develop a mindset so that at scale, we're dealing with the scope of this tragedy and responding to it at scale with efficiency, like the executive order I talked about, time value of delivering projects, addressing building codes, addressing permitting issues, and moving forward to rebuilding and being more resilient.
More resilient, right? And bringing things to scale, This is how VC, venture capitalist guys and tech guys talk, right? And he adopted that, the mannerisms, right? And it works really well in the backyard when you're trying to woo people, when you're trying to get money. Wow, what a tall, handsome guy. He seems to know what he's talking about. And the women swoon, right? Let me write this young, promising guy a check. But you're writing a check to nothing, all right? To just his vanity. He doesn't know how, and he doesn't even want to do anything. I have gone beyond these interviews. I've tried to look. I've looked at probably 50 or 60 speeches that this guy has delivered, and he never talks about anything. It's part of his game, part of the art. You can't pin me down, maybe. Don't be too specific. Here is his first speech as governor in 2019.
A true California house, sun-kissed, dream-soaked, and built with the sweat of honest work. We will not have one house for the rich and one for the poor, or one for the native born and one for the rest. We will build one house for one California.
Killer smile. I nailed it. I'm nailing it up here. All right, fast forward 4 years to the 2023 inauguration. It's still a bunch of pablum.
Most importantly, to my kids, I leaned over to a few folks. I said the most stressful part of the day was, well, seeing my daughter Montana in those high heels. I'll acknowledge that. but seeing my kids get through that Pledge of Allegiance, I think we spent about 600 hours on that, and it paid dividends. It paid dividends. So did Jen learning Spanish, by the way. That's remarkable.
The phrase is high on your own supply, right? I crack myself up. I'm laughing. Whoa, am I a funny, cool-looking guy? All right. Granted, that was the preliminaries, all right? Just the preliminaries. Let's go to the meat and potatoes of his big second-term inaugural speech.
Whether your family came here for work or safety, California offered freedom to access it. Not contingent on you looking a certain way, talking a certain way, thinking a certain way. And that's what makes this place so special. It's in our genes. We're a state of dreamers and doers, no doubt, bound by our live and let live embrace of personal freedom.
This is the guy who locked down churches during COVID. You couldn't go to church. You go to the liquor store, but you couldn't go to church. Live and let live, huh? All right. Who's seen movies from the 80s? 1987 or so, American Psycho, anybody, with Christian Bale? Is this not the same character or what? It is the same guy in so many different ways. Has anybody ever seen these guys in the room at the same time, same room? All right, so no skill. They can only talk about problems and they only can try to exploit them for their own benefit. Meanwhile, world-class skill. And I know some people roll their eyes when it comes to Donald Trump and building buildings and maybe even fixing that skating rink, but it was a real thing and a real indicator that the man can turn things around. He has an inquisitive brain that solves problems, and he solved this thing. And it's a beautiful story. Are you familiar with it? The Wollman Rink. It was run down, it was decrepit, and the government was trying to fix it for a half a dozen years, and they couldn't. They couldn't. He saw it from his window, and he said, you know what? I can fix this damn thing. I can fix it fast.
The Wollman skating rink in Central Park is open again. The city spent nearly 6 years and $12 million trying to fix it, and then to the rescue, developer Donald Trump. As Tracy Egan tells us now, he accomplished in 3.5 months what the city couldn't do in 6 years.
Mayor Koch and Donald Trump shook hands and came out complimenting each other for reopening Wollman Rink.
Donald, you performed a great public service.
No roadblocks were put up. In fact, it was the exact opposite.
Excellent. It really is true. I'll go into the book here in a moment, but we have this too.
We executed quickly. We came in 3 months ahead of schedule, and we saved this entire season, which really we're very happy about. And we also came in $750,000 under budget.
So this is applying skill to a real-world problem in the public space that most politicians can't dream of solving. And he did, and he proudly stood on that rink, and it was open to everybody in New York City. Now let's go to the art of the deal. He talks about this. He talks about how he didn't know stuff at first about the rink, but he knew the big stuff. I knew absolutely nothing about building ice skating rinks, but I did know something about construction. If it took me 2.5 years to put up a major skyscraper, surely it was possible to build a $2 million ice skating rink in a matter of months. Yes, of course, logical. If there's one thing I've learned from dealing with politicians over the years, it's that the only thing guaranteed to force them into action is the press, or more specifically, fear of the press. This is a great point. You can apply all kinds of pressure, make all sorts of pleas and threats, contribute large sums of money to their campaigns, and generally it gets you nothing. But raise the possibility of bad press, even in an obscure publication, and most politicians will jump. Bad press translates into potential lost votes. And if a politician loses enough votes, he won't get reelected. If that happens, he might have to go out and take a 9-to-5 job. That's the last thing most politicians want to do. Like Joe Biden, all right? They don't know anything. They can't do anything. But this is one of the tragedies of the past 4 years, maybe longer. He has nothing to fear in the media. They never held him accountable, right? He wasn't worried about bad news stories. Bad news stories actually get these guys to work harder, sometimes even work better. Same goes for Gavin Newsom. The tide might be turning a little bit because even the admirers are like, hey, what did we ever see in this guy to begin with? American Psycho. Does that work for everybody? And how about this? I'm sorry, there's certain things that you have to say, you know what, I have to take a step away from public life for the rest of my life. When you get busted having an affair with your top aide's wife. Yeah, that happened. He was single at the time, but his top aide was married, and he starts fooling around with the wife, and he comes out with a Bill Clinton, you know, if I just put it all out there, everybody will forgive me. And I guess he kind of got away with it, maybe until now.
Everything you've heard and read is true. And I am deeply sorry about that. I've hurt someone I care deeply about, Alex Turk, his friends and family. And that is something that I have to live with and something that I am deeply sorry for. I am also sorry that I've let the people of San Francisco down.
Yeah, because when you're running around having an affair, you're not working full-time for the people, are you? You can't, especially when you're an alcoholic. Sorry, but, you know, he was a mayor, and he's drinking, and he's drunk, and he's hungover, and he's fooling around. And guess what's not thriving? San Francisco. San Francisco, everybody knows, used to be the nicest city in the world, right? It was the coolest place. Here's City Hall, circa 1980 or something like that. Look at it these days. Look at that great big homeless encampment. You see all those tents in front of the joint? That's where the homeless live. They've been given a permanent situation there. It's a disgrace, and everybody knows it.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.